As Bud said, we're just a startup operation at San Diego. Eric had the vision that we should find a better way to do everything pretty much on the place. It had been a long-standing ranch. A lot of it is range. There's 11,000 acres there, plus the BLM and the state pieces that are intermixed in with this. And the neighbors around us are all conventional farmers, and this place had been run chemically for 50 years. When Molly and them showed up, they showed how bad we really were in shape. It didn't have soil, we had dirt. And I really didn't know the difference, I guess, completely until we started looking under the microscope. We started digging it up and seeing what was really down there. So now we're kind of working on trying to start over, all over. Up closer? Okay, sorry. So we started over. We began by taking the chemicals out as much as possible. We've still got a few winter wheat fields that are getting nitrogen, but they're done by the cycle of this time next year. We've taken small acreages, 30 and 50 acre plots, and started over with them. We put understory perennial cover crops in them with the intention that the two experiment crops, one would be for hay production and the other would have winter wheat planted into it, which we just did this year. My first batches of compost are coming along. We've done a lot of experimenting in the small hand turn batches and that kind of stuff. So when that turned out okay and we thought we had a great recipe, we went to a bigger one. We went to a windrows. We're now working 1,000-ton batches of feedstocks that we've been able to gather from all around the whole Judith Basin area. First thing I did was go out and find how many crummy old hay stacks and straw stacks everybody wanted to get cleaned up. We got a dump truck, a big one, brought loaders in, cleaned them up, hauled them out to our place, and started mixing them together and getting them ready to go. Well, the first batch turned out pretty fair. It's ready to go on the field this year. I've modified a manure spreader to be able to handle the compost. That'll be going on here yet this fall. We have been making tea, 5 gallons per acre. I'm told by the people that know more than I do in the microscope world that it looks pretty fair. We see in the test areas that we have improved the root penetration by 18 inches or better in just less than 6 months. We have test fields next to us that were conventionally farmed with winter wheat on them with a compaction of over 300 pounds at 6 inches. We're at 18 inches before we even reach 200 pounds on our test plots with the cover crops. Excuse me. So we thought that was good enough. We went ahead and planted 700 more acres in to the winter wheat understory cover crop. That will get winter wheat put in it in the fall of 2017. The anxious part is we want to start planting the winter wheat into it sooner, but we're believing that if we let it get a good work and get some of the microorganisms going and that would be better to take the year off from it and start over. Our place has 2,300 acres. We're turning 1,000 acres a year over basically, and then inoculating a lot of the pasture land and the hay fields with the teas also. As we go, the plan is to put about a ton per acre on most of the croplands that we have planted and continue the tea operation. Don't have a lot of experience like a lot of you people here have in having done the organic, but that's where we're going. We've got a focus to be able to take this to a full organic operation as fast as possible within the next 2 to 3 years. We hope that by doing so, we can even enhance that a little bit better by having the biology on top of it ahead of time. We're going to work with Bud over there a little bit and maybe even take some of our compost over to him and some tea over to him yet this fall. See how much more rain we get. But that's kind of where we're at on the place. We're very early stages, but we have Eric's been very cooperative in helping me get all the equipment we needed. I'm learning to build compost hyper speed. I've got great tutors. They've showed me a lot of the things that cut down on the problems. I'm sure there's still mistakes to be made, but that's kind of the direction we're headed with this. I guess I'll answer a few questions because I don't have a lot else to talk about.
Just mixed livestock and crops?
Yeah, we've got 500 pairs on there. We were running 250 and we've upped it to 500 going into the fall. So we've got our own manures. We've got several feedlots around that I can draw the manures from. The biggest thing that we're trying to push towards is a fungal base, so we can use up most of our area. We get a lot of hail like everybody does, but we've got a lot of straws and carbon base. We've even planted a few utilitarian crops so that we would have what we call a biodiverse additive for our compost piles, and it was a barley, turnips, and peas mix that we put in the spring so that we could harvest it specifically for this fall's 1,000-ton batch of compost. We set up a pad to start with. It's about roughly 100 feet wide and 2,000 feet long. And Billings are mostly in gumbo. We dug the gravel up out of the local area underneath the gumbo and tried to get a pad to work on. It works part of the time. Sometimes I wish it would work a little better, but it's getting there. Our area has been hailed every year, so I got a lot of really interested farmers in getting rid of the winter wheat that had been hailed on and they had to get off the crop, so we put it into it. It's what our goal would be, is to show that we can use the crops that are maybe a waste to an advantage, grow it, make it into our own soil health. And if we can figure out how to do this ourselves, then maybe we can help some of our neighbors start with it, because our whole area has terrible nitrate problems. Our magnesium and calcium are just running everywhere, not being used by anything. Our water sources have basically been polluted with nitrates and magnesium, hard water calciums. We have saline seep. It's not as bad up on the bench where we're farming as in some of the lower areas, but it's definitely an issue. Through this, that's what and the idea of being able to break up the caking of the soil. We have, like I say, most of the fields 6 inches, 250 to 300 pounds compaction, easy. Where we put the understory test crops in, we're 18 inches and we've got moisture down over a foot. And that was before these last rains. So we saw positive improvement right off the bat. We planted the first crops in May, and by early fall we were seeing 3 times the soil penetration of the probes. Were just astounding how much difference it was in side-by-side fields. This is a small test field here. On the left was our, I just took some pepper plants from a local greenhouse and a few other plants and put them in a couple of pots, and we put biology on the left and none on the right. The more you look at it, the more you can tell that it basically made all the difference in the world. And that was the only difference. They got the same amount of water, same amount of sunshine, and they were planted at the same time and came from the same greenhouse. Eric's wife and them, they came in and planted them, and within 3 days you could see the difference. The ones without the biology just were not taking. They just were setting. This is sampling they were doing out in the soil sampling area. There's square butte in the background. Molly there showing us how to get it done. That's me trying to get in the soil sample in the ground, learning that pure brute force is not going to make the soil any better. But that's an example of what we can get in one season from May to early fall. I don't recall the exact date on this, but all the fields around us, we couldn't even get that in 6 inches. That's over 18 inches, and we have moisture down, all the way down in the forest. The root have carried moisture just incredibly. That's our compost turner in one of the windrows. Our compost, it's amazing to me. It's a learning process. I need 4 times the space to get started, and then all of a sudden I'm going, where did all my compost go? I've got this little tiny pile left out here, but it's so dense and so diverse, and there's so much in it. You just take a little tiny look at it and you go, there wasn't nothing here 2 weeks ago. Now it's just jam-packed full of all the little workers. And that's the turner going. Eric's been great, found us a great piece of equipment there. It's a Bacchus. Turns a windrow roughly 17 feet wide by about 7 feet tall. And it will turn it fast. I now have it arranged so that I can put water through that as we go. At this stage, we were putting water on with trucks or before we did it. Now to date, yesterday, I've got nozzles attached. That's where we were spraying it on ahead of time. We couldn't keep it. We're too arid. We couldn't keep the water in it. We couldn't put enough on the front. Our water's so hard that we're trying treatments. The humic acid we've been taught to Bill. We're looking at all avenues to try and get this water more absorbable into it. The idea that it is running off because it's like pouring rocks onto this organic matter, it just won't soak in. The soft water, we've got good soft water up on the mountain, but not enough of it. So we're twofold. I guess we're trying to figure out this hard water situation too. Not just the soil conservation, but also the water and make it more absorbable. Can we treat it? Can we help it be more usable in our environment? Shot through the microscope, good fungal hyphae. There's Molly and Eric after they re-tarped my piles again. Tarping piles in east side wind is a challenge. You can put them on and Mother Nature can take them off about twice as fast. But it's the only way to hold the moisture in and get the product to the proper moisture. We got to have 50%, and there's so much difference. In 10 minutes you can see the wind take it from 50% to 40%, and everything goes haywire then. So we're working on all of that. Anyway, yes sir.
If you're getting manure from feedlots, do you have any problems with the manure not being clean?
At this point, the feedlots I'm using are small, homeownered, and I know pretty much what they've got in them. We can look in the microscope and we haven't seen any real bad problems. We haven't seen no bad bacteria or fungal or growths that we have to be concerned with. As we go forward, we're doing testing on everything. Everything goes to the labs for tests, all of our manure, everything, and we so far have been able to stay away. I'm not going to the large, high production feedlots at this time, just for that reason. I would try to stay into the smaller ones, 200 or 300 animals, and I know most of the people, and know that most of them keep their equipment and their lots pretty clean. So.
I'm thinking about $4 raise.
Well, and microbiology will take care of a lot of that. I mean, if we have the right biology in it, it'll take and get rid of most of that if it has time. Maybe it'll take longer curing. We're looking and finding out. This is a total experiment. We're doing everything under the scrutiny of the scientists and the labs. Everything we do, we test. We're trying to make everything as upfront as possible. Put everything out there that will give us a basis for what doesn't work. If it does, great. Hey, we'll stand up here and say, yeah, it worked great. But we'll have errors, we'll have problems. But we've got to try and do something. And The manures that we're using are a minor portion of it. I'm trying to do, it's less than 10% of the total recipe. I'm getting a lot of nitrogen and a lot of our heat from our alfalfas and sandfoins and that kind of situation. We add that to, in this time of year, I actually am adding a little bit more manure because the temperatures are down. But it's easier to maintain my moisture right now than it is in August. I had a huge battle, got into the first batch pretty late, and we battled the moisture was a huge issue, and the water absorption was a huge issue. We're making headway, but we don't have it all figured out yet. So anyway, my contacts, I'll be around too. If there's anything I can do to talk to somebody or help them along, or maybe I'll pick something up, I hope. So.